Brainwash with Gerald. Podcasting from beautiful South Jersey. Brainwash, the podcast that cleans your brain. June 16, welcome to the show. We're here with Toby Van Wilgen. It's has been quite a week, Toby, don't you think?
No. What do you mean?
What do you mean? You finished your school? You did.
Oh yeah.
You had a huge week.
I did have a big week. Well, kind of.
What?
I mean, yeah, it was a big week. You know, finished my bachelor, defended my thesis, mightily.
You're moving on in life. That's good. That's
I
a
know.
Good thing.
To more school. What a great step I'm making.
Well, that's not the point. The point is that you have to go step into the future.
Mm-hmm. From bachelor's to master's. What a big step.
Oh, then there's more after that, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
So are you optimistic about the future?
No.
Oh, are we all gonna die?
It's 2020.
Oh.
It's June of 2020. There's like not too much to be optimistic about. Although, optimistic. Yes and no. I'm optimistic about people my age. I think we're great. I'm part of the future, the best generation, the Generation Z.
You guys have to fix everything.
Exactly, and we're going to do a great job because we're much better than millennials, according to everyone, including ourselves.
Well, I don't like that distinction between
Generations.
those are marketing terms.
You don't like labels?
No, these are marketing terms. They're just labels to market certain products to certain people.
Yeah, but they exist for a reason.
I'm supposed to be a Gen Xer, but that doesn't mean anything.
Okay, but if products are more marketable to you than they are people that were born 20 years before or after you, that means there's a certain level of relevance to the fact that you were born at that point in time.
Of course, there's always a relevance to it,
and thus the labels make sense.
And I have a different interest than you have, but it doesn't mean I'm part of. You can just put me on the pile of freaking car consumers and commercial watchers.
You don't think there's a certain general similarity, if maybe at least one, between all people born? Like millennial, I think is 1980 to 1996. I think something like that. Because I know it stops at 96 because I was born in 97.
Yeah, and the Gen Xers were. I mean, I think it was one of the.
You were before that, so 60 to 80 probably.
65 till
80, 79.
80. So yeah. So. Well, there's a. You mean can you?
That's a guess, by the way. I don't know for sure the generational.
Boundaries. Again, it's all a.
It's an abstract. Hey,
there's
bro.
No strict lines. Yeah.
It's just a human construction, bro.
Yeah, and then to tell you the truth, from every generation, people live in different eras anyway. So some people live mentally in the 40s. Some people live mentally in. Some conservative people live mentally in, 1812.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people still believe that, the South
South shall prevail.
Still exists and stuff.
Well, yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, like, don't take down those statues,
No, yeah, because they might get lost, these people.
I don't understand why you can't just put them in make a history museum. Make the museum of statues. Find a city that needs some tourism. Let's say I don't know, does Atlanta get a lot of tourists? Atlanta, Georgia? I don't think it gets that much tourism.
No, I agree.
Put a museum in Atlanta, Georgia and have every statue from both the Union and the Confederacy there, and you just have the best Civil War museum in America with all those statues, and then everyone's happy.
No, you should. I think
and educate people correctly.
Yeah. No, it was the Romans who put up statues to honor people. On honor battles. These are arches.
Yeah.
But you can put up a statue of someone you hate and have some people piss on it. Why not
a pit? Nah.
Yeah, why not have a statue of Hitler and urinals around it, and everybody can piss on him?
Yeah, I don't think people will like that though, because most people are still more or less Christian in their values and believe in turning the other cheek and being better than the bad people.
You can.
If you're pissing on Hitler, you're just as bad as Hitler. Not literally, but
no, you show.
Someone's gonna make that argument.
Why can't you make a very significant gesture about how you feel about a person in history?
Look, dude, when I used to play St. Augustine in hockey in high school, we used to put St. Augustine logos in the urinals of the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I've been pissing on people I don't like forever.
So and it felt good, right?
No, I thought it was stupid, but
Why did you do it?
I wasn't the one that put the logo in the
But you're
bathroom.
still pissing on it.
Where else am I gonna piss? I was
You
given.
can take it off. Do the honorable
You're
thing.
gonna put my. They weren't laminated. You want me to touch that dirty piss paper? No thanks. I'll pass.
No, so you did. I think it's a.
You think it's cathartic to pee on people that you hate?
My point is that.
Why not put it in this bathroom stalls so that we have to do number 2 on them?
Yeah, no,
I think that's more disrespectful.
Or you can do it even worse. You can think about a monument. I thought about that years ago. Like we have a recycled glass,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So what if you make a pit and you put like who's not a despicable figure in history? Mussolini, Ceausescu, Stalin,
Genghis Khan, if you
Genghis
want
Khan,
Yeah.
Pol Pot, Mao, of course.
Lewis and Clark, you could argue.
Well, that's not Lewis and Clark, maybe. Excuse me.
God bless you, Corona man.
My Corvus.
COVID is what you're trying to say.
Oh.
COVID.
I'm trying to
COVID.
pluck my brand of clothes. My Corvus clothes. That was a joke.
That's not a joke.
Stupid.
A joke needs to require some sort of reference, humor,
right. No, but
shock value.
What if you make a pit, right? And then in the pit there's a statue, and you bring your bottles, and you can broke your bottles on the man's head.
Yeah, but
And then at the same time, all the glass will disappear underneath and will be recycled. That will be not a bad monument.
I believe what the people in the South argue with these Confederate statues is that these men were great leaders, and great war generals, and they value that over the fact that they were fighting to keep men and women enslaved. It's kind of that argument of like, can you still watch the Cosby Show even though Bill Cosby was a terrible person? Can you still respect this general's leadership even though what he was fighting for was slavery? It's not a perfect, equivalency because one is art and one is war, but I think that's the argument that the people in the South have.
No, I agree. And then so now
do you think they want people pissing on their esteemed leader?
Good point, because someone in Camden was during a protest was talking about, he goes into the city hall or into the city. There's a Woodrow Wilson High School, right? Woodrow Wilson, he was a very overt racist.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody disagrees about that.
Yeah, he was the first one that watched what was the movie? A New Nation?
Yeah.
Birth of a Nation.
Birth of a Nation, yeah.
He was the one that praised it.
Well, yeah, and
said it was magic or
and,
something.
And yeah, he was. So changing the name of the school in a predominantly black city, yeah, I get that. But then he started talking about Walt Whitman, was also a racist, and it was like, oh wait a minute. And then I, because I have a weakness for Uncle Walt,
Mm-hmm.
because I think he did a few great things. But then, if you look at what he says, yeah, he would be considered, especially today, he would be considered a blatant racist.
For sure.
Do you want to get rid of his statues as well?
Yeah, how much do we respect the different times argument where maybe he was just a normal guy back then and a normal guy happened to be racist?
He was a very progressive guy, so he was less racist than the other people.
But still blatantly racist.
He would not, he would not be someone who would have slaved himself,
yeah,
or hit them, or.
But here's an argument I heard from Andrew Schultz, a comedian. He goes, if you take it way back, most of the early scientific developments, the cosmos and most algebraic, things that we're still using today, were discovered by these old Greek dudes who their behavior would be considered despicable today.
Absolutely.
So if we can dismiss their behavior, but the thing is science is different, right? But at some point, science and philosophy don't differ too much. It's learning from people's ideas and learning from people's discoveries. So if we can dismiss the ancient Greeks for their despicable behavior, where do we stop dismissing people for their despicable behavior?
Good point.
Is it the NASA was built by Nazi scientists?
Yeah, Werner von Braun was the one who
exactly
who created the concept of that.
So are we going to cancel NASA? Because we're not pro-Nazis. So that's 1940s, 1950s, right? So is that long enough ago that we can dismiss the despicable behavior?
No, it's a good point. I don't know. Because
and then in that case, Walt Whitman's off the hook.
I don't think. I think we should.
Or should we separate people's personal beliefs, behaviors, and ideas from their contributions to society? So should I be able to enjoy The Cosby Show or R. Kelly's music?
No, I don't think we're going to be able to get rid of Walt Whitman's body of work, but they were talking about statues. And so the interesting thing about statues is they were like, when the Reformation happened, the statues were the first to go. The statues of the saints, the gods.
Yeah.
Because the Protestants...
This intermission is brought to you by Gerald Van Wilgen, synth pop.
This is my little pop song. Oh, here we go.
My dad made that. Or sorry, not my dad. Gerald made this himself. Follow him on SoundCloud, yo, dropping them heavy
This is like
beats.
a surprise little dropping surprise beats here. Here we go. Anyway, so no, but my point was that the whole idea
Reformation
of the
statues.
Reformation, the Beeldenstorm, as they called it in the Netherlands, the word iconoclast. That destroyed the images. Not only the statues, but also the frescoes, the paintings on the churches. They were all painted over. Now they're actually rediscovering all those. Because one of the Ten Commandments is that you shall not
worship idols.
Yeah, take the Lord's image, whatever. And so that idea of what happens now is based. I mean, not based. It is very recognizable.
It's similar to that. Well, I just think I don't think people have problems with the existence of these statues. I think it is kind of like you can separate the art from the artist when an artist is terrible, because they often are. I mean, artists are often terrible.
But going back to the Restoration, right?
Yeah, Reformation.
Reformation. Going back to the Reformation. So let's say, I mean, most of these statues were not that good, but let's say you have a very famous artist who had created statues.
Yeah.
Would you have to destroy those as well, or would you say, well, you have to put those in the museum? I mean, they also have an artistic quality.
Yeah, but that's where I think
that's
it's
another question.
Weird, because what these statues do is they celebrate these men who are fighting for slavery, right? That's what these I think most people. I've never heard a compelling argument against that from someone from the South who wants to keep those statues. It's like, no, we're celebrating a great war general. A great war general who was fighting on the side of keeping men and women enslaved. Like, with all due respect, I have zero respect for your argument. But I do think that another thing people on, the right and left side of a lot of political spectrum say you shouldn't try to erase or suppress history. So I don't think these statues should be destroyed, but I think they should be put in a museum, and I think people should be properly educated on them.
I agree. And what about, like, I mean... the statues are, of course, symbols.
Yeah, but they should be a symbol of the ugliness of the American history, because the ugliness of American history is seldom taught to American kids.
No, I agree, but that's not the true history. The true history, those are just the signifiers of history. But the true history is what happened and what a racist history has caused an unequal society, and that's, you don't resolve that with destroying statues. You know what I mean?
No, but you resolve that by using those statues as a form of education.
I understand that, but
do you know what South Africa did when they ended apartheid?
They did the Truth and Commission.
Exactly. There's never been something. Quick explanation. Truth Commission was literally, they explained to all of the people of South Africa how a 10% white, 90% black population was ruled by that 10% white population legally for such a long time, and what they pretty much broke down what they did and what their not justification, but why it was successful to the white people. You know
because
what I mean?
they allowed them to come clear, and they said you have to confess, but you're not going to get punished.
Yeah.
Which is cool. And
so they explained how 10% of a population oppressed 90% of the population.
Yeah.
How they broke the, traditionally African black people into different sects and put them against each other. It was essentially they came clean about what they've been doing to oppress most of the country for such a long time. The U.S. has none of that. I mean, even in schools, you're taught that, racism was a thing. I saw a really funny meme the other day. It was like high school textbooks in the U.S. are like, There was slavery, and then the Civil War ended it. And then there was Jim Crow, and then the Civil Rights Movement ended that. And then the Civil Rights Movement pushed for progress, and the last racist to ever live killed Martin Luther King Jr., and then it was all good after that. That's kind of the education you're given. Not to discredit some schools that do a really great job with it, but like I do think at some point we're gonna need a South Africa apartheid truth commission in this country, or else, because I don't know, I don't blame people in this country for being ignorant. Is what I mean to say.
No, I get that, but the other hand, I mean, the people who actually did it in South Africa were still alive. The people who
it was 96, so
did it. 96. The people who did it here, most of them are dead. So the people who actually
not necessarily though. There's like Reagan's campaign. They talked about using politics to benefit white people and hurt black people. Like there's people on tape saying that. From Reagan.
I understand that.
So those guys are still alive.
And Nixon was also not a doesn't have a clean.
No, definitely not.
But it's not as extreme as it was in South Africa.
No, of course not. But it also wasn't able to be put in law like it was in South Africa. I mean, apartheid was a law, you know?
Yeah, and where did they learn it, you know?
Yeah. I just think, honestly, the thing with these statues is that it's pretty clear at this point as Americans that the education system and the government, the central government, isn't gonna do this. It's not gonna happen. It would have happened by now. So I do think it's important that we take these historical monuments that we still have, these powerful images that we still have, and use that imagery to educate people on the history in this country, especially the history regarding race. I mean, we're recording this, I think, 2 weeks after the George Floyd murder and all the protests and shit. Mm-hmm. And in that time, I mean, we're a pretty progressive liberal family besides 1/4 of us. And we're the one that's not living in this house right now. And he who shall not be named. And we're all pretty, like, I always felt that we were very tolerant and whatever. But when something so ludicrous happens, like this last 2 weeks and all these protests and all these people, my social media has been people just begging white people not to, not to post anything, not to say anything, but literally begging, like, hey, just learn shit. Just educate yourself. Yeah. Try to understand. So I did that. And you realize, like, oh, my knowledge of the history, my knowledge of everything, I still have so much to understand and learn. I thought I got it. I thought I was one of the good guys. I thought I was, progressive, liberal, tolerant, non-racist. I was patting myself on the back for 21 years. But then 22. But then you kind of realize, like, oh, I still have so much to learn, and I'm still very ignorant in some ways. So if I'm ignorant in some ways, I can't judge anyone in this country for being ignorant, more or less ignorant than I am, because No,
and that's the whole thing with these kinds of issues. You don't want to. It's very easy to point fingers at people, like, oh, he's a racist, blah blah blah.
And it's destructive.
It's destructive, but it's also not very helpful. It doesn't help the dialogue, and you have to get people to. First of all, you have to get people to start talking to each other. I mean, that's the most important thing. And then you're right. There's no. And you see that back in the Netherlands as well. It's a different, bit of a different issue. But we have had some a surge of right-wing parties in the Netherlands because of the immigrants. And one of the big problems with the immigrants is that they were ignored for many, many years. So they were never accepted into the society because they thought they would go back. So they never learned the language. They stuck to cling to their own culture, which was mostly Middle Eastern or Islamic. And they created basically a wall was created, a wall of discommunication, wall of misunderstanding, resulting in excesses on both sides. People had no clue what either one of you what they were doing.
No one knew what they wanted or what they were hoping for.
Yeah, and if you work with if you are in situations where they are getting together and they are doing things together and they are respecting each other, and nothing is going on, nothing is wrong. Yeah. Of course, they have different religion, different opinions, but who cares? That's normal.
People like people normally.
Yeah,
that's something I noticed too. I remember listening to. I'm a big fan of like fighting MMA. UFC shit. Yeah. And I listen to it. There's a lot of fighters coming out of Georgia right now. Georgia and Dagestan are part of Russia.
Georgia, like
The country
Yeah.
Georgia and Dagestan, a region of Russia, and they're bordering each other.
Yeah, what's the guy from back?
Khabib,
Khabib, yeah, the big guy, the wrestling guy, right?
the wrestler,
the choker.
Yeah, he's not that big though.
I know.
Fights at 155 pounds.
Oh wow,
Probably weighs 185.
he's the guy who chokes everybody, right? The wrestling guy.
Yeah, he doesn't choke everyone, but he normally just puts you in a position where you can't move
and
and
he
beats the shit out of you.
he fights bears when
He wrestled a bear
Yeah.
as a 9-year-old kid. Yeah, guy's amazing. I shouldn't call him a kid. And he's probably one of the most famous Muslim athletes in the world. He's great. Excuse me.
Yeah, after the soccer player, what's his name? Salah.
Mo Salah, yeah,
Yeah.
Mohammed Salah, Egyptian, great, awesome. Liverpool, you'll never walk.
Yeah.
But so this guy from Georgia was talking about Russia compared to Georgia, and he was like, in Georgia we hate the institution that is Russia. Like, we hate the Russian government, we hate Russia politically, we hate Russia historically, but we don't hate Russian people. In fact, most of our life is interacting with Russian people, because if you live in a city or you work in like a metropolitan area, whatever, in that region of the world, chances are you're interacting with a lot of Russian and Eastern European people. So you don't hate Russians, but you hate the institution that is Russia. And I found that to be super profound, because it kind of dehumanizes groups. But I think that's kind of a good thing in a way, where if we can make people realize, I think it would remove a lot of hatred in the world. So if you take Vietnamese people have always apparently been really good to Americans and hold no grudge or whatever.
Yeah.
But let's just say they hated Americans for the sake of this argument. And I only use Vietnam because that seems to be a country that's been very forgiving and all that shit. But if you could just talk to these Vietnamese people that in my hypothetical world hate Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you tell them you should hate the institution of America and the politics of America, but don't hate American people. That's a thing. Like, I think that's where the disconnect is, that these Georgian people that I've heard talk about it really fucking figured out, and they have an awesome language. So it's the same with race in this country. If you take a really racist guy and can first make him understand that he's probably met a lot of black people that he really likes. Most racist people listen to rap music.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
And they eat fried chicken.
And they enjoy the fruits of labor of the black culture that's pretty much ran American pop culture for the last 60 years.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, like, I think if you can first get someone like that to understand that they don't hate black people, they hate whatever they've been told about black people. That's how you get them to. That's how you can convince a racist to not be racist anymore, because that's a really fucking hard thing to do.
There's different. There's different gradations.
Of course.
There's people who actually believe that black people are not as intelligent as white people.
But I think those people are dead. Like, we gotta wait for them to die, because I think some people are too far gone.
I know, I understand. But there's also, and you see that with the gays as well. You have to look at it. You can look at it in a political perspective. Like, take for instance homosexuality. Homosexuality in history. Of course there were some issues here throughout history, but in general, it was
ancient Greece.
In general, it wasn't a problem until the gays said they want something. They wanted certain rights, and the same with you see it with minorities. Minorities are not a problem as long as they don't demand certain rights. As long as they don't demand a piece of the cake, and the piece of the cake thing, that's what drives most people. Like we've seen it with women.
Yeah,
we've seen it with the handicapped. We have seen it with minorities,
elderly,
with the elderly, and now whoever sits on that cake has to give that up, and that's what has to happen, and that's what I think is the biggest challenge for coming up the next coming years, because it's easy to put a black square on
Instagram. Yeah.
On your Instagram. It's easy to it's very easy to protest. It's very easy to put a banner on. But now you have to go like, well, do I want to pay extra taxes?
Yeah.
Do I want to go? Do I want to? We talked. Yeah, remember that we talked about quotas. Do I want to
potentially forfeit a job opportunity?
Give up a job because. Or not only a job, like I'm a writer, so do I want to give up my opportunity to publish a book in favor of someone who is a minority or whatever?
Well,
That's those choices people have to make now.
yeah, here's something I was talking about recently as well. Because I was arguing with someone about quotas. Because I didn't know how helpful they were. And they kind of accused me of being racist by saying that I think there's better ways to help society. But I did say, and I do mean this, like, if ever there comes a time where there's me and someone, any person of color, who is of equal qualifications of me, if I don't get that job, I will be like, that's for the better. Like, I don't mind not getting a job if the only deciding factor was that I'm white and this is a person of color, because I do think that's like things are gonna have to overcorrect. You know, like that's just how shit works. Things don't go from being pushed way in one direction to right down the middle where they're supposed to be. There's gonna need to be an overcorrection. We saw it with the Me Too movement, like Me Too, right? At first, everyone talking about Epstein and Harvey Weinstein, all these people were people that have been dying to speak for years that were never listened to, and then by the end of it, you had people trying to, get people who were like, they had a bad date or something, and then trying to call them a sexual offender. And what I don't understand why people are so scared of it is because whenever that happened, people were like, oh no, that's not sexual assault. You just had a bad date. Like, people noticed it. It's the same with this. It's going to overcorrect, and then people will notice it. Black people, white people, all people of color, all people, whatever. And then it's going to come back to the middle and we're all going to be happy. So I do think I'm probably going to be the generation that has to like maybe forfeit some opportunities. But dude, privileges in this world exist, Like,
okay, there's another, and then there's, I mean, the big question is something that is not on, certainly not on, I mean, the economic, political, social issues are one thing, but the big question is what is the prevalent culture?
Prevalent culture?
The prevalent culture. So years ago, there was a little video on Facebook or whatever about a group, like a therapy group.
Yeah.
And these were all very progressive, well-meaning, left-leaning people, at the best intent. And they basically said, I think there was one African-American gentleman, maybe more.
Sure.
But the suggestion was, well, if you guys just would behave like we behave, everything will be all right. Like, so if you want to behave as soon as you...
Who said this? African American?
No, the white person said. And the African American said he was a very friendly guy, but something snapped in his head. He goes like, why do we always have to come to you?
Yeah.
Why do we have to, adapt to your way of living, your way of looking at things, your way of your culture?
Sure.
And so, and I think that was a very valid point. And I think that's the biggest issue coming up. Like, how do you give people, not only black people, but also any minority, how do you give them their own universe, so to speak? So it's not only
but I think
it's not only I'm talking about culture, the cultural expressions, but like simple things like architecture. Why does a black family has to live in a house that's based on a European design that's thousands of years old? You know what I mean?
I think that's an interesting back and forth, though. Once again, this may be a privileged opinion. But first of all, I don't think that people should have to assimilate fully. But a lot of the early civil rights leaders, such as Martin Luther King Jr., did his genuine
assimilate to what? That's the question.
But Martin Luther King himself had genuinely believed, and I think he did so out of necessity and not desire. But his whole thing was, if we want to be equal with the white people, we need to assimilate with white people.
Yeah, we have to assimilate. They have to.
Exactly. That's why he spoke like very articulate, smart. Sounds like he went to Harvard. Yeah. You know what I mean? This one, when it comes to Americans, by the time that most black people have been in the U.S., it's longer than most white people here by now. Because a lot of white people have immigrated here in the last couple hundred years. And a lot of, at this point, black Americans and white Americans, Hispanic Americans, if you're from the North American continent and you're as American as it comes. I mean, Canadians and Mexicans and Americans aren't that different. So I don't think there should be a need to assimilate towards a dominant culture on this continent. because there is no dominant culture. I mean, the white Americans are a 400-year-old culture, and we can argue that, Hispanic Americans are 350-year-old culture.
No. The dominant culture is the Western.
Is the majority.
Western European culture. I mean, it's the language, the school system,
Sure.
the way people dress, the way. I'm talking about
So
simple.
I'm
talking about how people behave. Like,
I get that.
you say hello and thank you, and you shake hands, and you sit down for
I'll say in Europe, I do think if you move to Europe, there needs to be you don't have to do anything, of course, but on some end you should at least some sort not conform but exist and respect the country that you move to. I mean, the Netherlands is a 1,000-year-old plus country and culture with ideas.
10,000.
10,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you're gonna move there, I don't think you should lose all of your culture and individuality. I have friends who are, from Lebanon and Suriname and stuff, and they still eat Suriname's food and Lebanese food, and they speak, their language at home, and they're Lebanese. But at the same time, they're also Dutch, right? Because they've lived there their whole life.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And I don't know if I know how it works in Canada. If you're going to be for the refugees, what they try to do is immerse refugees not all together, but into Canadian society. So, they try to have you live in a community of Canadians. They don't try to put every refugee in the same community, which I think is good. Honestly, I think it's good because you become more accepted by the majority. It kind of loses those barriers of entry that come with.
No, I understand when it comes to new immigrants, but these are African Americans are not new immigrants.
But I think, don't you think? Well, okay, but African Americans now have their own identity. And what I've come to learn from, but also what I've come to learn from listening to a lot of African Canadians and African British people and people from African descent that live all over the West, is that the African American identity and culture has resonated amongst African people all over the world. So in creating their own, not to make it different because everything comes together, but having an African American culture has created an African Western culture for the whole world.
No, I agree with that. But
no one should be forced to. Of course, I think that is shitty. But
the especially the
you have the Malcolm X argument right now.
Yeah, and my friend, when I was growing up in Groningen in the Netherlands, a few of my friends were from Dutch. Colonial history is very
sketchy,
but also rich and deep. And the people in my town were Moluccans. They were that's an island in Indonesia, and especially the Moluccans were identifying with the American Black American culture. It's really interesting because they love the music. They love the way they have the sneakers. I mean, they were the first one who wore the expensive sneakers.
Yeah.
And the varsity jackets and all that stuff. That's really cool. But it's true, yeah. American culture, Black American culture is going all over. You see, I mean, if you look up rapper Dagestan rappers or
they're mirroring
Irkutsk rappers.
They're mirroring guys from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is what the United States is better than any other country in the world is they export culture, films, TV, music, fashion. Cultural staples are being exported in the United States better than anywhere else in the world.
That's true.
Could argue France or maybe Italy, but that's just fashion. And then England tries, but they don't compete with the U.S. on exporting culture. It's next level. And that's the one thing where, of course, there are some racial biases and things like that, and a lot of white people are running those big companies, especially in music. So, but when it comes to what actually gets exported, it's a pretty fair representation of the culture. And African American culture has run pop culture in this country for a long time.
No, I agree. But you have to question.
But they're not benefiting from it, which sucks. Because a lot of the studio executives and shit are white dudes who fuck people over.
My experience in those countries, in Far East countries, is that they're still extremely...
Far East is a very Western perspective.
I know. I'm just thinking about that. Because it's far in the East.
Yeah, it's a very Western perspective.
Yeah. No, in countries like India, Pakistan, people are extremely racist.
Yeah.
And so it's no other issue, but they do enjoy rap music, China as well. But Yeah, but but that's not the issue. I mean, they're not. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. I don't know enough about how if there are people going on tour there.
My thing with this like assimilation is I think assimilation is good, but I also think, of course, you should assimilate with the culture, but keep your own culture. I think that's perfect. So a country that forces immigrants and minorities to not have any of their own cultural identity is clearly wrong.
Well, how about the other way around? Just
Well, I don't know if having all the Italians live in Little Italy and all the Chinese people live in Chinatown. That would be the other way around, right?
No, the other way around would be
where everyone just sticks together.
Cultural. I mean, I think cultural appropriation is an interesting term. No, what I mean is like
cultural appropriation just means not giving credit. To be honest,
it's like or
no one's mad that you take something from another culture. They're mad if you take it, claim it to be your own, and then
it goes further than that. Like my friends,
okay, I'm talking about reasonable.
I have Navajo friends, and they do in Navajo culture. They do a spring ritual every year. It's a very archaic, ancient ritual, and then all these white people from all over the country, they're well intended, and they know their stuff, and they have the attributes and everything. They go there because they want to be part of it. But the Indians were like, I mean, it's nice you're here, but it's our thing, you know. And okay. So in a way, you can say the same with. But
we're trying to be open, right?
Huh?
We're preaching openness right now, right?
Yeah, but there's also you have
non-exclusion.
It's but this is an interesting point, because now we have a point where white people go to these ceremonies.
Yeah.
They should not be excluded, so they're welcome, but they don't like it. But if Native Americans go to white people's ceremonies, so what if you have so what would be the equivalent of a spring ceremony? Let's say
Coachella, Christmas,
or the Mummers. Let's say the Mummers. Let's say you have
Philly. Okay.
Let's say the Mummers in Philly, and suddenly
New Year's Day parade we do here. In Philadelphia.
And suddenly a group of Native Americans shows up, dressed up as Mummers, and go like, "We want to be part of this." They're gonna get kicked out right away.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. Because they have to go through the organization, they have to go to they have to be approved, accredited, blah 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 blah. Well, those white people in those Native Americans ceremonies, they just show up. They go, look at us, we can do this, blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
that's that's
where the cultural appropriation comes to,
or self-appropriate, whatever. Yeah,
it's like you can kind of take whatever you want from other cultures just fine, but for anyone to take anything from your culture or to be a part of it, you have to be a part of the infrastructure and part of the system, such as the Mummers. I mean, most people who take part in the Mummers parade, they're like part of some group or team that have been taking part in it for years.
No, I think the point is that this is a gross generalization. I think the point is that white people walk into other people's cultures accepting to be accepted, while if it's the other way around, it would be not the case.
Yeah.
So if you have I have used a stupid example, but people, if anyone's listening to this podcast, they're going to kill me for it.
All 7 people, sure.
All 2 people. No, but if you go to a theater in a mostly African American neighborhood, go to a movie theater, there's a different experience than if you go to a white suburban theater.
Okay.
Because that's not. I'm not saying anything that's out of the.
It's a normal part of the lexicon. It's a normal discourse.
Yeah, it's a whole different interaction with what's
interaction with cinema compared to
cinema or the stage, right? Yeah. So, if you would have a group of black people going to the Wilma Theater and watching a Shakespeare show, where usually you get chastised for opening up a candy wrapper during the show. That happened to a friend of mine. And then you suddenly get some people who like making noise and responding to what's happening on stage. That's going to be, we don't. That's not how we do it here. You have to behave according to our rules, according to our standards.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's another cultural barrier we have to overcome.
No, for sure.
Because we at the same with if you go to black churches have a different experience. So if you go, so that's and it's and what people say is like, well, it's fine when you do it in your own church,
Yeah.
but you can't do this in our church. While there are a lot of white people who go to these churches and they go
enjoy
crazy like
themselves,
well, yeah. So that's an whole that's an interesting.
I think that's an interesting addition to the argument of cultural appropriation that is often not taken into consideration. I think it's a good argument. Something I have not yet considered, to be honest. So I don't know if I can speak on it right now because I haven't really done my due diligence. But I do think it's because you often hear cultural appropriations like people always take from each other's cultures, but it's more so the how do you put it? You're assuming you'll be included whilst excluding everyone else. That's kind of bullshit.
Yeah. Well, you want to be included yourself, but you don't want to include the people you are expecting to include you.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because the thing with Black Lives Matters right now is that what we said earlier that it has to come from your wallet. So I'm hoping people actually go, frequent black businesses and restaurants and all that. But on the other hand, I can imagine that a lot of black people are not really waiting for white people to come to their places and eat with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there is a...
well, there's two schools of thought on this, right? Like, there's cities like Atlanta where you have a predominantly black community, you have a lot of black-owned businesses and role models that are African-American men and women that have created businesses in these predominantly, African-American situations and that are doing just fine. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But if we keep promoting that only, then we're promoting segregation.
Yeah.
And that's not what I don't think we want. I don't think anyone wants segregation. So I think your whole idea of if you want to be a part of other cultures, you need to welcome other cultures into your things as well, I think makes the most sense. Is just I know this is so cliche and it's been said a million times, but just to be overall inclusive of all people is the best way. I mean, Trevor Noah, a few years ago, before any of these protests and things took place, was saying the best cure for prejudice and bias was exposure. So the best way to make a racist man less racist is to expose him to the really cool people that he dislikes based off their skin. So,
I think
if I'm homophobic and now all of a sudden I meet, the dudes from Queer Eye and they save my life, I'm going to be less homophobic now, right? Because these gay men are the 5 greatest men I've ever met.
That's true. I think you can say that about any prejudice, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's such a shitty thing because inclusion, for some reason, is really difficult for human beings to grasp. I mean, you see it like fucking schools hate each other and countries have rivalry, but like inclusion is most likely, in my opinion, the best solution to everything. It'll come with some barriers of entry that needs to not be neglected. That should be expected. But those barriers of entry are important to overcome so that we become an all-inclusive, group of people.
I know, but that has to go into I mean, you're talking about education, media, because media bias is one of the main
very strong in this country.
Yeah, one of the main causes of
a lot of conditioning goes on in the U.S. through education, through media. A lot of people are conditioned. That's why I like to have a lot of sympathy when I talk to people from this country and empathy, because I can't really hate a guy for having any sort of bias or bigotry here, because it's just you're up against so much here. If you grow up in a certain town, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a prejudiced point of view. And that's something that also I think we should have some empathy for. Not that we have to be sympathetic towards their feelings. We don't. And by we, I mean me. I shouldn't speak for anyone else. I don't have to be empathetic towards your racist feelings or sympathetic, but I have to be empathetic towards your upbringing that made you think that way. Because I'm not going to get through to you unless I understand you. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't mean I should be an apologist for racist people, but I should have an understanding of why one becomes a bigoted, prejudiced person, I should understand the mechanisms that make someone that way so that I can communicate with them in a productive manner that genuinely speaks and resonates to them, rather than just call them a racist pig who's a terrible human being and end the conversation right there.
Yeah, which is just as easy. It's just as easy as being a racist, you know?
It's very easy to, yeah, exactly. And it's hard. It's hard to sit down, listen to someone who you disagree with completely and understand why they believe what they believe. I mean, it's like the old religious thing back in the day where really religious people would tell atheists that they're, you know, that it's a similar thing. You have to understand people and listen and talk. I think that's what's really missing in the modern discourse is there's zero shred of empathy or understanding of the person you're talking with. And that's what's making it impossible to get anything done in most social conversations.
Yeah, because most people only, you know, how do people communicate through Twitter or whatever?
They just yell at each other. That does nothing.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we going to do about it?
That's the thing.
You're the future, man. You should have an answer. Come on.
That's something I learned this week, in the last 2 weeks with everything going on is that the people that annoy me the most on social media are the ones that preach to others and tell others what to do. Those are the ones that annoy me. Even though they're all well-intended, to claim that you, 22-year-old, you know, girl, guy, black, white, whoever you are, to claim that you have the answers of how all white people should behave, all men should behave, all black people should behave. To claim that you have any answers, I think, is really a thing. I don't think anyone should be telling anyone what to do right now. I think I agree. Right now, we should all be taking the time to listen to people who have, you know, gone through some shit and learn as much as we can. And I don't know, hopefully as a collective group, a lot of people come to a solution. I know it's pretty shitty to just assume others will come to a solution. So if any way I could be a part of that, that would be cool. I don't know how that would work, but to claim that I have a solution, I think would be an incredibly, first of all, hypocritical, because I hate people that tell.
Not the solution, but I mean
a solution. I think just kind of.
It's about ideas more than anything.
An
else.
idea would be to kind of. I really believe that every man and woman and person and non-binary folk and whoever is out there should do their part. So when it comes to the environment, like the environment's a kind of easy quote unquote thing to talk about. Like, I don't know if we can do a whole world thing to help the environment, but I think if everyone does their part, the sum of all those parts will be greater than any joint effort. You know what I mean?
I know. Yeah, that's the mathematics of it. But the point is, what
I'm a math guy.
No, but the question is, what are you gonna do?
I think every single person should A, be more inclusive. B, understand that they have biases. I don't care if you're the most liberal person in the world. You're not perfect. You're not the perfect non-racist. You have biases. Take the time to be uncomfortable about those biases. Kind of be a little upset with yourself. The way that I was having to kind of self-reflect the last 2 weeks, the way that a lot of people have been. Understand that you have biases. Understand that they're not ingrained in you, that they're fixable. It's just going to require a lot of uncomfort. I mean, there's a lot of people of color in this country that have been forced to be uncomfortable for a long time. Mm-hmm. So I don't care how liberal you are, you can handle being uncomfortable for a month, 2 months, a year, however long it takes to kind of self-reflect and understand what your biases are, why your biases are that way. From that point forward, what happens then? So I think that's step one. After that, I think it just comes to, on a large scale, things like education reform, hiring more people from non-conventional quote-unquote communities, places like Camden in this area, places like Trenton, places like Newark, where you have predominantly black and Hispanic people, predominantly like impoverished areas. Those are where you should, if you have a job that you can hire, see if there's anyone there that you can hire, that you can mentor, that you can create a person who can be part of this system. Because I don't believe the system can change easily. So I believe the system should change. But with regards to what I can do right now, I don't know if I can change the system right now. So I can just try to help people be a part of the system to make their life better.
No, I think when it comes to change, you have to make some. I think you have to make some rigorous steps to change even the logistics of things.
Yeah.
So, for instance, I mean, it's a simple thing, but like, it's already proven that it's totally out there example, but it's proven that teenagers are on a different time clock and they function much better from 10 till 8, and yet they have to get at school by 7.
Yeah,
Which is so that means that first 3 hours is totally unproductive.
it's logically dumb, but
it doesn't make any. It's a power thing. It's like, oh, we do this. This is how we do it, and we're not
or
going
you're
to change
teaching
it.
discipline.
Yeah, well, that's another issue, but
Well, discipline is important.
but my point was that
Discipline equals freedom.
no, I understand that, but my point is that you can be disciplined at 10 in the morning. That doesn't
Yeah,
make any
that's true.
sense. But is that we are in a changing world, and also in a changing work world, and the school rhythm has been built upon the idea of you have to go to work every morning,
Yeah.
eat lunch, do tasks,
Sure.
get rewarded. So if the country is able to make, I mean, it's a simple thing. If they're able to make these drastic changes
Mm.
without killing each other, they can
Mm.
show the world and the people like, oh, we can do this.
Yeah.
It's also a symbolic change, but it makes it for a lot of people much more easier life,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be less stressful for millions of people because everybody's stressing with those stupid teenagers every
Yeah.
morning to get them to school.
Well,
So why just not take it away? It has nothing to do with black and white, but it has to do with attitude,
Yeah.
and that's the whole, and that's more important than, because I don't think black people are waiting for white people to do things for them,
no.
at all.
If there is a big change in this country, I do think it'll come from a minority group. And that change will be better for white people and black people. That's like, I have two kind of closing arguments. First is on this topic, to the conservatives of the white conservatives, like making life better for people of color in this country, for minority groups, for, LGBTQ groups.
Yeah.
That makes your life better too.
Yeah.
This idea that being the majority and the one who has the privilege or whatever, the idea that giving that same privilege or having a world where things are equal means that you have less isn't true. Like, it's better for everyone. You'll have more liberties, you'll have more freedoms, you'll have all of these great American ideas if everyone has those. So you can't be a free country unless everyone has the same freedom.
Correct.
So that's like the point A that we need to get across to people, and whatever we're doing now doesn't work. And then B, and the reason I'm saying, like, speaking to conservatives, is I have a lot of very liberal friends who post on their social media all the time about very liberal ideas, and every single one of their followers are also a very liberal person. So that's why talking to conservatives is something that not a lot of very progressive people can do, because the only people they talk to are very progressive people. You can't, you know what I mean? So we need to learn how to speak to very conservative people, because those are the people whose minds we need to change.
I agree. And the funny thing with those people is that, I mean, I can say those people, but a lot of
Conservative.
interesting thing with people who are conservative is that they dug in, and if you are attacking them, they enjoy that. They make them stronger, and so. My experience is that if you just ask questions and
listen,
tell them to explain what their point is, and try to get into a dialogue. That's
but listen, like you said, a dialogue. It's not I talk and you listen. It's I listen to you too, and I listen. And I understand what you're gonna say. I don't try to win the argument. I don't try to gotcha. Quote unquote. I keep doing quotes with my fingers, even though this is an audio medium. But you got to actually listen to people, because you know what? Maybe they say something that you go, oh, I never thought of that before. My second point with regards to talking to some conservative friends that I have is, if you were homophobic 10 years ago and you didn't believe in gay marriage, right? Which was, I think, 10 years ago, 2010, was around the time that gay marriage became legal in this country.
Obama, right? Yes, under Obama, yeah.
You had to know around that point in time that you were on the wrong side of history, right?
Yeah.
You just had to know. The same comes with now, with regards to racial lines and religious lines and sexuality and gender, all these things. You got to know you're on the wrong side. You got to know that at one point the world will be equal, whether it's in 20 years or 2000. I don't know when. But at one point, the world has been trending in that direction forever. Mm-hmm. It's never gotten less progressive, maybe for periods of time, but overall, the world has gotten more progressive. So if you're a conservative American and you believe that this is the land of the free and the home of the brave and you love this country and this is the best country in the world and no one else competes, I respect your opinion. I don't entirely agree with it, but I respect it. This is a great country and it has a lot to brag about. I'm with you. But why not be the world leader? Why not be the first to do something inevitable? Why not be the first country, the leader of the world, like we all claim this country is? Let's be the fucking leaders of the world on equality, on bringing people together, on being like a one country as opposed to a shit ton of different ethnicities in a country. Why not be the world leader? We fucked up with Corona. We could have been the world leader with that.
Oh,
let's be the world leader.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it goes back to what we said earlier, is that in order to do that, people have to give up part of the pie, you know.
But you're not giving up part of the pie.
Yes, you do.
No, you're not.
Well, no, I agree. You're
a
right.
white,
that
dude,
you think you do.
Yeah, exactly. Symbolically,
you're afraid that they're going to take our job. You know.
Yeah, symbolically speaking, you're giving up part of the pie, but you're not, dude. I'm the poster boy for white privilege. I'm white. I had fine money. I went to a private school. I have European parents. I have, I've never been like bad at sports or ugly or whatever. Nothing has really set me back in life. I'm the poster boy of white privilege. I personally believe that like I lose nothing from equality. So I've been given a lot of benefits in life, but if all those benefits are taken away, I don't lose anything. I'm now just part of this. I probably gain something actually.
No, I agree.
I do gain something.
It's the same. It's the same with. I mean, it's coming from a different perspective or direction. But this made me think about it. Like if you the people also opposing raising minimum wages, right?
Yeah.
Because suddenly you're not competitive anymore, which is I think total bullshit. Because Germany is competitive, Switzerland is competitive, and the minimum wages are like 3 times as high over there. So, and the thing is, the people who are stopping that, the people who are against it, they don't understand that if you raise the minimum wage for everybody, everybody's going to spend more money. Everybody's going to get loans for bigger cars and bigger houses and do more expensive clothes. So the economy is going to shoot up like a freaking mushroom in the spring. You know what I mean?
You could argue
and everybody's going to get better from it. And it's the same with equality.
You could argue inflation goes up, though.
No, it doesn't. No.
It has.
It doesn't necessarily.
The thing is here's the deal. If the U.S. raises the minimum wage, everyone has more money. The U.S. cannot raise inflation rates to the point that they raise minimum wage. So in that case, everyone's better off. And the only people that lose out are the ones running the companies, which we don't really mind.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to happen is that if
I mean, dude, Amazon, everyone should be making 6 figures who works for Amazon.
Yeah, like for Walmart, right? If
honestly,
if people in Walmart all get I'm not even talking about getting money. I mean, I'd rather see them getting good healthcare,
good benefits,
and benefits. And then the Waltons are not going to be billionaires, multi-billionaires. They're going to be single billionaires. So what's the big deal?
God forbid.
Yeah.
God forbid.
But
I don't like hate. Like I appreciate people who make their money. Like I respect. I genuinely do. I'm a bit of a capitalist in that sense. Probably because I'm young and I have dreams. But like no one needs $1 trillion like fucking Jeff Bezos. Like no one needs to be a trillionaire. Like that's impossible to spend. Your kids can't spend that money. If you have 10 kids, they can't spend all the money that they would inherit if you died tomorrow. There's just a certain point in time where we need like I don't know. I think we should allow people to make their money and get ahead in life. But also this is one of the only civilized countries that has zero safety net. I mean, even
but that's another topic for another show.
Yeah, I do think because we were probably running long.
Yeah,
now.
we're like 1 hour into this.
The one thing we should close with is what we'll discuss next time.
We are.
What would you like to discuss next time? Because I have a few ideas, but they kind of require you to do some homework. So.
Oh, like what?
Well, I think we should talk about sitcoms because we've watched Community.
Public culture, yeah.
I think you should watch The Office before we discuss sitcoms.
All of them?
Yeah.
No.
At least like most of it.
I can watch it like an account and I can scan it like do a
No,
a
if you
diagonal
just watch
one.
like seasons 2 to 4, that's like you could do that in 2 days.
Oh man.
It's a great show.
Okay, what else?
The American one. I mean, have you seen Friends?
I don't want to go. I have seen.
See,
No.
Your artsy bias means you
I have
hate it.
seen it. I have
Okay,
seen it
so
when it
you
was on
understand
television. Yeah.
Okay, if we do a sitcom episode of this podcast, we can do it in like a week or two. I'll prepare like a bunch of shit for each show, and then we can discuss.
Oh, you can have clips and stuff like that.
Not necessarily clips, but just ideas and stuff. We can also do. I don't know. Do you have anything that would be nice to talk about on the next rendition of Gerald's show with this stupid song? What?
Oh, you mean my the it was called
Brainwashed. Yeah.
Brainwash.
With Gerald and no one else.
I like the. All right.
No, you don't have to put me in the intro. It's fine. No, don't worry about it.
Well,
what would you like to talk about?
Aren't we supposed to talk about Shakespeare? But
okay, we can do a Shakespeare.
no, I'm
one.
just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I would like to.
Something you care about, something you'd like to talk about. We can do that one next. We can do sitcoms later.
We're gonna have a guest with Jochem talk about music.
Okay, perfect. We'll do music. So next time you listen to this, we'll
and
talk
then
about
Jeff
music.
is gonna come in and talk about food.
Okay, so we'll do music and food.
Yeah.
And nice. Okay.
Okay, dokie. Thanks for listening. This was Brainwash with Gerald.